and thanks for joining us from the Chateau Vaux-le-Vicomte. We've travelled just an hour outside of Paris to bring you some real Christmas magic. If you recognise this place, it might be because of the 75 films that have been made here, including Moonraker and The Man with the Iron Mask, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. It was also in the headlines a couple of years ago because of a €2 million heist. 2020 has also been a tough year, but the spirit of Christmas lives on.
On this chilly December night, figures robed in red usher you into a different world, where the squirrels are 5 meters tall and the trees bend to receive the wishes of children and their parents.
I made a wish that my boy might soon be able to get out and discover the world.
On the edge of the woods, a fairy lives in a cabin, and she comes laden with gifts.
It's great to get out with the kids. It's a breath of fresh air. A family outing with all the lights, it heals the soul.
It took 30 people 2 weeks to put up all the lights, but the work doesn't stop there. The staff have to be alert to the slightest malfunction that could break the illusion.
We've got 4 kilometers of fairy lights, and the garden is rather big. We've tried to lay it out to highlight the contours of this French formal garden.
Vaux-le-Vicomte Chateau is celebrating its 15th winter show. It was one of the first chateaux in France to put up lights for December, and as of last year, there's a new addition: an impressive projection across its facade.
It shows the history of Vaux-le-Vicomte, from when it was first built to the finished article with all its embellishments. There's a bit of fantasy as well to get lost in.
It's a sprinkling of magic to transport families who are perhaps in need of a little break from reality.
Visitors might not be able to go inside the chateau this year, but the gardens are super Christmassy. I'm joined by one of the owners of the castle, Jean-Charles de Vauguet. Hello.
Hi,
Thanks for being here. Now, at Christmas, the chateau pulls out all the stops to make this a really Christmassy place. Tell us what people can see here and how long does it take to prepare?
Well, it takes about 2 weeks to prepare everything. So 1 week to put all of the decorations inside the house, and then another week to put all the illuminations outside. So we have about more than 50 Christmas trees, about 4,000 meters of Christmas lights, the big squirrel that you can see behind us. There's about 15 people working on this project.
The chateau is the largest privately owned heritage site here in France. There are 350,000 visitors in normal times. I know there's a lot less this year, but tell us a little bit about its history.
Well, the history of Vaux-le-Vicomte is really the history of Nicolas Fouquet. Fouquet was the finance minister of the king. He's very successful, and the king is very young at the time. He decides to build this place with the best artists of the time, Le Vaux, Le Brun and Le Nôtre, and they create together this masterpiece. Then a guy called Colbert was very, very jealous about the position of Nicolas Fouquet. He convinced the king that maybe he was guilty to take some money from the state, so the king decided to put him in prison. After a few families, the chateau has been abandoned for 40 years, and then my family comes in 1875 with Alfred Sommier, who really saved the house and the gardens. He spent millions, not just also to buy the chateau at the auction. He was the only bidder at the auction. And then he spent millions to restore the chateau, and his son spent even more money to restore the gardens. And then my father opened the chateau to the public in 1968. And now we are the 5th generation running the chateau.
And Jean-Charles, you actually lived in this chateau when you were very young. No one lives in it now, but it's always full of people. That is until March this year. What has 2020 been like for you here?
Well, it was a sad year because we didn't see so many people as we used to do. We had many lockdowns, and it was difficult for the staff. It was difficult for us. We lost a lot of revenues. And we had to find new ideas to attract mainly the local people, the local tourists. So we had to develop new animations to attract the families, but we hope that 2021 will be better.
The Chateau is among thousands of cultural places in France that have had to adapt because of COVID. Another one is the opera. After months of rehearsals, just days before they were due to perform in front of a live audience for the first time in months, the dancers and singers of the Paris Opera learned that they would remain closed because the corona cases in France remained too high. So they decided to record their shows and put them online.
These dancers were looking forward to finally returning to the Paris Opera's stage in the run-up to Christmas. They'd been preparing La Bayadère, a ballet in 3 acts with 60 dancers. But their hopes were dashed when the French government decided to prolong restrictions for theatres. Dancing during a pandemic is no easy feat, as principal dancer Ludmilla Pagliaro found out this year. She'd been rehearsing for the title role of La Bayadère throughout France's second lockdown.
Luckily, we didn't have to stay at home with nothing to do this time, which allowed us to continue practicing and to stay in shape, unlike the first lockdown.
Arriving at the stage door every day, she has her temperature checked. Then has a class with the other soloists. The dancers have to take a weekly COVID test. They practice at a distance from each other and keep their masks on. They are allowed, though, to take their masks off to dance duets, as when these two principals rehearse this fight, a key moment in La Bayadère. The Paris Opera broadcast the ballet live online in mid-December for €12 a ticket. As the pandemic drags on, artists and companies are increasingly turning to paid streaming. Dancing in front of the camera is not a matter of course, but it's better than nothing.
All these video projects are great, they're necessary, but they don't in any way replace a live show.
Exactly, that's our moment to make magic. Nothing is guaranteed, of course, because it's live, but that's the moment we have to pull it out of the hat and make it magical for the audience.
Unfortunately, and despite all their efforts, that magical moment in front of a real audience will have to wait.
If you can't have a candlelit dinner in a chateau this Christmas, one thing that might lift your spirits is the Netflix series Emily in Paris. It's actually part inspired by an American journalist who used to work with us at France 24. So our Christmas present to you is to meet the real Emily in Paris, who's going to share with us her tips for the holiday season.
Bonjour. Hi. Hello. Hey, what's up? Je suis Rebecca Lafleur. Je suis américaine.
Je suis journaliste et auteur. Je travaille notamment pour The Hollywood Reporter comme correspondante en France, critique cinéma sur Canal+ et sur France 24.
Joining us for this is our film critic, Rebecca Lafleur. Welcome to France 24.
So around a year ago, the famous Darren Star called me because he had just created this character called...
I'm Emily, your new neighbor.
Enchanté.
And so I ended up going to LA and I was thrilled to work with the writing team. I'm a creative consultant on the series. It was a great experience.
Has anyone noticed this is a very dysfunctional workplace?
I think you're the one bringing the drama.
Hello, bonjour. I'm really excited to take you on a little tour of Paris during my favorite season, Christmas time, when the City of Lights is all aglow and it's really festive. Hey, let's go. Allez. So here we are at Le Bon Marché, the big famous French department store. They have everything. It's a one-stop shop for literally everything you can think of. This place to me just always represents the magic of the season.
Christmas cookies and the bells on an open sleigh. All I gotta do is shut my eyes and I can see
some jewelry, trop bien, all handmade in France. Bonheur, beautiful, and rêve, amour, magical. You can even find love here. Bûche de Noël, the Christmas logs, very, very French. This is my all-time favorite French dessert, le millefeuille, the 1,000 leaves, just layers of French pastry and crème, and it's the most delicious thing ever.
Frenchman,
are flirts. Just act normal when you see him.
So here I am, surrounded by French pigeons in the actual neighborhood where the real Emily in Paris lived, on the top floor of that appartement. And now we're gonna go to the restaurant. Maybe Gabriel is here waiting for me. Gabriel! Gabriel! Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Ici, Emily in Paris est venue
Tout à fait.
acheter ce fameux pain au chocolat. On peut le voir, ce fameux pain au chocolat qui fait sensation le monde entier. Oh my God! Here we are at Le Panthéon, the Pantheon. There are lots of famous French people that are buried here. My good friends Victor Hugo, Voltaire, Émile Zola, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. One of the reasons that I actually came to Paris is I had studied all of the great literature, and I just kind of pictured myself hanging out at cafes and hanging out with the next Voltaire and Émile Zola. So here we are inside of a postcard of Paris at the Place de la Concorde, the Champs-Élysées, La Tour Eiffel. It's kind of like a scene out of An American in Paris. We're all just gonna start singing and dancing. Paris le rêve. The Place Vendôme and the area around here. During the holidays, it just lights up at night and it's just magical. The most très chic place in Paris is Le Ritz. I just picture Ernest Hemingway having his mail forwarded to the Ritz, and I always dreamed of doing that myself one day. Thanks for spending a wonderful day in Paris with me. Wherever you are in the world, sending you l'amour and lumière, love and light from the City of Lights. Bye. Here we go. Ciao.
Even if we can't go inside France's cultural spaces this Christmas, we'll always have the lights. It's goodbye from me at the Chateau Vaux-le-Vicomte. Thanks for joining us. Merry Christmas.
That man over there, who is he? Different, anonymous, unknown, a source of fear that reinforces our prejudices. At a time when our ability to live together in society seems more under threat than ever, a group of young people has decided to tackle the issue.
Les jeunes ont commencé à nous dire, c'est vrai qu'on a des clichés, mais on se dit pas que c'est violent, on se dit pas que c'est méchant.
Salam Shalom Salut is a project that aims to break down taboos, get rid of preconceived ideas, and deconstruct our views, combating silent racism and anti-Semitism through dialogue.
Il y avait des gens qui criaient mort aux Juifs dans la rue.
Moi, en tant qu'arabe musulman, j'avais l'impression que je devais me justifier.
Moi, j'ai peur des personnes racistes.
Reporters Plus, presented by Mark Owen on France 24 and France24.com.